Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy and today it's hot. It's really hot, it's really hot. You guys probably can't tell, but it is really hot today. It's been like, I don't even know how many degrees, man. I don't even know how to put it into degrees, but it's been really hot lately. You know, I'm wearing a sleeveless shirt. For the first time I'm recording videos with my window open. I normally close it, you know, to keep any external sounds from interrupting, but it is so hot I gotta keep the window open today. Oh my god, it's hot. But anyway, today I'm gonna be talking about 13 Reasons Why. Okay, it's a pretty popular television series. I think that it kind of hammers home anyone who's had problems in high school, which I think a lot of us have, you know. And I think that it's a series that really, it's weird because at the same time that it deals with high school and things that are a little bit more mild in that sense, it also gets really dark. You know, as the seasons go on, it starts to get darker and darker, you know, and at the very end it's like, wow, what the hell did I just watch, you know? And to those of you who haven't seen it yet, it is about the suicide of a teenage girl named Hannah Baker, and she leaves behind cassettes, you know, cassette tapes for people to listen to, with 13 different specific reasons why she decided to take her own life, you know. Now, obviously, if you are somebody who has suffered from these problems in the past, you know, depression or anxiety, and even had suicidal thoughts, maybe, just maybe, this television show isn't for you. And even though I did suffer from all of this in the past, I still wanted to watch it just to see how much I could relate, you know, and what it was about. And throughout the episodes, you know, the actors come in and they give you messages, you know, regarding seeking help, you know, in these different suicide prevention associations, you know, that kind of thing. But anyway, on to the actual show. I think that there are a lot of layers to this series. You know, I actually liked it a lot. There are 4 seasons, but the 3rd season is notorious for being confusing as hell. You know, I think it's pretty unanimous that it was the worst season out of the entire show. Even if you're a diehard fanatic of the series, there is no way that you enjoyed the 3rd season. There was one redeeming factor, but I'm gonna get into that later, okay? Let's analyze the series season by season, okay? The 1st season is pretty much the introduction. You know, you're getting introduced to the characters. You know, we have a kind of like a different cast of different people who kind of behave in different ways. You know, we have kind of like the main character, Clay Jensen. You could argue that Hannah herself is the main character, but Clay is kind of there with her, you know. And we have her friend Jessica, and then later her friend Alex, and we have the jocks, we have Justin, we have Bryce, who pretty much plays the role of the antagonist, so to speak. You know, we've got what's his name, Zach, who's also a jock, and then we have a few players coming in to the field later. You know, we have also Tony, who's one of my personal favorites. Now, and okay, I left the window open and a giant insect flew in and then it flew right back out. The 1st season is probably the best in my opinion. You know, the opening season is, you know, pretty likely I could argue that season 2 is kind of like, you know, neck and neck with it, but I still think I prefer the 1st season because everything, like, it's sort of like, it's innocent, but at the same time it's dark, you know, because it takes us through a lot of the moments in cliche high school things and this and that, but we also see the actual suicide of Hannah, you know. Now, Hannah is a girl who suffered a lot. You know, not just in school, but also outside of school. You know, she had a few problems, a few run-ins with guys that she likes, you know, and she suffered bullying because a certain photo of hers went viral around the school, you know, and this and that sort of thing. And at a key moment, her life starts to slowly go downhill, you know, when she goes out with a guy who kind of makes her life miserable after that, you know. And she has a friend to confide in the form of Clay Jensen. You know, they're actually really good friends. You know, they work together at a movie theater, so they're kind of pretty close. And as the series goes on, they start to drift apart, you know, a little bit. And the series kind of it takes place in the present, but at the same time, it's told through flashbacks, you know, merged in with what we're seeing in the present, you know. It's actually a really cool concept, and it kind of takes you through the moments that Hannah felt most, you know, depraved. You know, she felt down, you know, and of course her relationship with her parents wasn't the best. You know, she didn't really have the best relationship with her mother, you know. It's kind of like we start to see how estranged she really was. You know, there was a moment where Tyler, another student, he takes a photo of her, you know, through her window, and it spreads around the school. You know, it's just, it gets really crazy, you know. And time goes on, and we see that the people who she thought she could confide in were actually going against her, you know, going behind her back and talking smack and spreading around rumors, you know, because high school is a cruel place, guys, you know. I mean, either you're popular or you suffer. You know, either it's really rare to be right there in the midterm, you know, where you're not exactly popular, but also not exactly bullied, you know, you're just kind of there. You just kind of exist, you know. But Hannah really hit the deep end. She really suffered a lot throughout her time in the school, and I actually feel really sorry for her. You'll feel really sorry for her, you know. And the first season is, but each episode is one tape, corresponds to one tape that the people listen to. I think it's actually just Clay who listens to it, and he gets testimonies of people who listen to their own tapes, you know. And the tapes were sent around to different people, you know. The instructions are very clear. Listen to the tapes and then pass them on to someone else, you know. And Clay is, I guess, the last one to listen to them. And well, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy. The first season really builds up to everything. You know, everyone is trying to understand why this poor girl killed herself. You know, they're trying to figure out what exactly happened here and there. And it's really insane how deep it goes. Even in the first season already, you know, we see that the layers are going to get a lot deeper than we see on the surface. And it's really sad, you know. And it's so tragic when somebody so young decides to end their life so prematurely, you know. And then there was another, we also see that Bryce is kind of a douche already in the first season, you know. There are some problems involving rape, you know. I don't remember if that was in the first or the second season, but he does rape Hannah, which is one of the reasons that causes her to go off the deep end, you know. He also rapes Jessica, which was dating his friend Justin. It's a whole complicated thing, you know. Bryce is a complicated character, but he is actually my favorite character in the entire series, and I'm going to explain why towards the end. Don't throw stones at me just because I said that, okay? But that pretty much covers the first season, you know. We kind of start to be introduced to the characters and how their relationships with each other. We see who is close to who. Eventually everyone starts to kind of distance themselves and other people start to come closer, you know. By the end of the season it is really crazy, you know, what happens. But that kind of summarizes the first season, you know. I liked it a lot. I think it was nice. I think it was a really good setup. You know, it was a very good setup for things to come. And every single tape, every episode, every reason that Hannah decided to take her life is just, it hits you like a knife in the ribs. You know, it's she explains how her relationship with certain people deteriorated, this and that, you know, and everyone, she has a reason, a very good and detailed reason, you know. And of course it's high school, so there's gossip, you know, people try to say that she was lying, you know, try to do this and that, there are different versions of each story going around, you know, and some of them contradict Hannah's versions, you know. It's, at one point, not even you, the viewer, knows who to believe, you know.
Hannah walks up to the door, leaves this box, and goes, I should have gone out there. I should have talked to her.
If any one of us would have still been friends with her, she'd be alive today.
I can see in the darkness there in your eyes.
Now, season 2 is all about the trial, you know, that they take this case, Hannah's suicide, to court, you know, and the tapes get in. I don't think the tapes were involved just yet. Actually, no, they were. At the end of season 1, they got the tapes. Her parents got the tapes and they listened to them, you know, and that's exactly what led to the whole court hearing, you know. And it's a very bureaucratic thing, you know, there are a lot of politics involved, but I still liked it a lot. I think that season 2 was a great follow-up to the first one because it builds on what we already saw. The mythology, you know, the reason that this girl committed suicide and all these reasons and the players involved, you know, what these people did, what, you know, and everyone starts giving their own versions of stories, you know, like all of the students involved on the tapes, they go to court and they're actually forced to give testimonials, you know. They have to, you know, tell their version of it, so to speak. They have to share what they think happened. You know, their own versions of the stories that Hannah was telling in the tapes, you know. And of course, a lot of what they say contradicts what was on the tapes itself, you know, which is where the show starts to get a little crazy because now we start finding out things that we didn't even know in the first season. Like that, for example, the Zach character actually went out with Hannah for a while, you know. They actually had a pretty sweet little relationship, you know. We saw a side of Zach that wasn't all you know, douchebag, jock, bully, you know. We saw a sweeter side to him, you know, and that was really cool too. We saw a few little, there was even a moment with Bryce where I think Hannah, I don't know if it was Hannah or Jessica, but there was a moment when they actually, where Hannah went to their little hangout at the school, which is where Bryce committed a lot of his heinous acts, you know. And there was a bit of a backstory. Bryce told a different story than Hannah did, you know. And it's really, I actually like TV shows and movies like this where there are two different sides and you as the viewer has to try to make sense of what, well, makes sense, you know, put the pieces together, you know, in your own way and try to see what makes more sense, you know. And along the way, we discover different things. We find out different secrets that we didn't know in the first season, you know. Many of the characters are fleshed out much more, you know. Justin is probably the best example because Justin, he is a complicated little piece. You know, he starts off as like seems like a pretty happy jock, you know, ladies man, that kind of thing. But then as the show goes on, we start to see that he has a really bad relationship at home with his mom and his stepdad. I don't even think it's his stepdad. I think it's just his mom's boyfriend or something. And at one point, he's actually a drug junkie, you know. He's always, he actually overdoses once or twice, I believe. But anyway, he's addicted to drugs. He does a lot of different things. He lives on the street at one point. Then Clay actually takes him in, you know. His parents sort of kind of adopt him for a while, you know. They kind of grow together as the series goes on, and Justin starts to be more fleshed out. He starts to leave the drugs behind and become an actual decent young man. With a few moments of relapses there. The issue with season 2, it actually already started in the first one, but I think from the second season onward it starts to get really annoying, which is the lies. Everyone lies, especially Justin. Justin is probably the biggest compulsive liar in the series, you know? And it's really, but like sometimes it's so easy to tell the truth, you know? Just like there's so much evidence that he's actually lying, but he just like the other characters kind of brush it off, you know? And sometimes it actually annoys me how much he lies, you know, and it's just annoying, you know. And also the profanity, you know, there's way too much profanity. I don't think actual high schoolers curse this frequently, you know, to the people who made the show. There is so many F-bombs everywhere, it's annoying, you know. There's so much cursing, there's barely any essence to the conversations, you know. And anyway, I think that they're like the characters lie to each other so much that at one point not even you know what the hell is true or not, you know. There are just way too many. There's just too much deceit, you know, and I think that Justin is at the center of it all. Unless you count Bryce, who goes around raping girls and denies it fervently. But anyway, I think that the second season really does well to establish a firm hold on just how serious this situation is getting, you know. And at the end, there is justice for Hannah. You know, the people who the judge feels are adequately involved. They get consequences. I think Bryce. I don't think Bryce actually. Oh yeah, he does get arrested. Actually, Bryce gets arrested at the end, you know. And so I think that justice is served for Hannah. You know, everything. The season closes out in a very satisfying way. You know, it's really nice to see everything paying off. You know, and this poor girl who took her own life getting justice. You know, I just thought it was weird how she kept appearing as flashbacks. You know, like Clay started seeing her, you know, well, not really flashbacks, I'm sorry. She started appearing as like an apparition, you know, and only Clay could see her. So it's like, okay, so either Clay is going crazy or he's just imagining this, you know. It's kind of gets annoying because like she's there, but at the same time she's not there, and he starts talking to her, but to somebody who's there in the same room. It's like he's talking to himself, you know, so it starts to go crazy. This show deals with a lot of heavy issues, and one of them is schizophrenia, so yeah, it kind of goes hand in hand with that.
Bryce needs to pay for what he did to Hannah.
Many friends have said goodbye.
To Jessica.
Rated out.
To who knows how many other girls.
I said it all.
Alright, so now we get to the bad seed. You know, we get to the bad penny, you know, the black sheep of the series. Season 3. Okay, now I don't even know where to begin, much less where to end when discussing season 3 of 13 Reasons Why. This can probably go down in history as the most confusing television season of all time, you know, and I don't remember. Maybe the German television show Dark is a top contender for that, you know, for the most confusing line of thought. But the problem with season 3 is that it was all over the place. It was all over the place. It was way too confusing to understand, and I just really didn't like it at all. Now, there is one thing about season 3 that I think sort of saves it, but not all the way, which is there was an attempt by the producers to create sort of a redemption arc for the Bryce character, you know, who serves as the primary antagonist because he's the one who rapes all these girls, you know, and he goes around getting away with it. He's like a rich boy, he's spoiled, you know, and he's a jock, you know, like he's kind of he's popular, but at the, like, under that pretty boy popularity face, there is a monster. you know, and he's a masochist, you know, and I think that like the things that he does, like he doesn't really feel sorry for them, you know, there's no remorse until you get to season 3, because the first 2 seasons built up Bryce as kind of like this narcissistic, condescending douchebag, you know. Certain words I'm not gonna say because you can't curse on YouTube anymore, but it's kind of like he has a problem, you know, like I wouldn't say he's exactly a psychopath because he doesn't kill people, but he could be a sociopath to some degree, you know. He's just out of his mind, you know, and the series builds him up to be like this remorseless, you know, girl crazy machine, you know. All he has is sex on his mind, you know. He treats his friends like crap, you know, like he's always kind of using them because he's always bailing them out when they need it, you know. So it's this whole crazy thing. Now, the thing with Bryce is that it's very, very easy to hate him, although I honestly think that he was the best actor. The actor who played him, I forgot his name, but I'll just put it here in post. The actor that played him was definitely the best in the entire series, you know. He was definitely the best actor, the guy who played Bryce. And the Bryce character is essentially the best in the series because of how... I don't know if it's the character himself or just the actor who was really good, you know, but Bryce is definitely my favorite character because of that. Now, I would go on to say that season 3, I think that because Bryce was built up in such a negative perspective, you know, the season 3 trying to help him redeem himself was just that strong, you know, because the whole season we're introduced to a character called Annie who comes from I think Africa or something, and she transfers to the school, and at one point I think she starts having a case with Bryce. She starts her mom works at Bryce's place as a maid or something, and then Annie goes there and they start, you know, having that forbidden sex, you know. They start hooking up and all of that, you know, and she slowly starts helping Bryce transform into a better person, you know, because he's isolated. He changed schools, you know, and everyone at this new school knows what he did in the other schools, so it starts to kind of mess with his head. And even his relationship with his mom starts getting a little bit better, you know. His father is completely out of the picture, you know, and so he lives just with his mom. And being isolated obviously gives him a lot of time to think and reflect, you know. And as the series goes on, there are a lot of flashbacks in the entire series. The present day in the series is shot in this really dark, desaturated cinematography. You know, the tone it's like the movie 300, you know. But then when they do flashbacks, everything is like it's widescreen, right? But then it goes full screen with color again, and it's like, why isn't this the present day? You know, it just makes the whole thing look really depressing, you know. It's too dark and moody. And the focus on Hannah Baker is almost completely absent here, you know. There are barely any mentions of her in season 3. And we see Annie giving her testimonial about how things are, how different it really is, you know, giving her version of tales, you know, the time that she spent, you know. And she pretty much narrates across the entire season, you know. And as it goes on, we see Bryce kind of like struggling within himself, you know. He starts reaching out to people and trying to apologize for what he did, you know. There's a very tense moment where he actually apologizes to Hannah Baker's mother, you know, for having raped her and being one of the reasons that she, you know, took her own life. And it's not a very pleasant conversation, you know. She just kind of storms off, you know. And Bryce tries to help out Tony too, whose parents were deported back to Mexico, I believe, you know. He tries to redeem himself. He tries to buy his car, you know, to help him with the window, and he gives back the car, you know. He really does try. And at one point he actually listens to the tapes, you know. He listens to Hannah's tapes, and he kind of it makes him reflect much more, you know. And one of his rape victims, which is Jessica, you know, Jessica is probably my least favorite character in the series because at first she was so traumatized by the rape, you know. She was trying to advocate against Bryce and for girls who have been abused in the past, you know, but then like that insecurity evaporates really quickly. She's dating a bunch of guys, you know, she's having sex with different guys all over the place. So it's like the rape didn't even happen anymore, you know. It's like just an excuse for her to hate Bryce because she got over it really quickly. I hate Jessica. And I think that Bryce, when they tried to talk, he actually tries to talk to her a few times to try to apologize, and of course she's not having it, you know, because Jessica is a cold-hearted wench, you know, and it's really weird because she can be sweet when she wants to, but she's also cold-hearted at the same time. So the character dynamics are really messed up with her. And at the very end, Bryce actually gives her a tape, you know. He makes her a tape, kind of Hannah Baker style, explaining everything. It's a very heartfelt and touching moment, you know. The tape is probably the best part of the entire season, you know, because it shows that Bryce really did grow and reflect, and he really truly does now feel remorse for what he did, you know. He truly feels sorry, even though there is still a bit of him, a bit of the old Bryce inside of him, you know. At the end of season 3, he dies, you know. At a key point in the middle of the season, I think, or early on, they find Bryce's body and they're trying to investigate who could have killed him, you know. But at the very end, it actually shows how he died, you know. Another character called Alex kind of like pushed him into the lake, and because Zach had come on before and beat his ass, and he broke his arm and I think his leg, you know, so Bryce was kind of immobile. Then Alex later helped him up, but because Bryce was threatening to do things, he just let him fall into the water and he drowned. But anyway, I honestly don't think it was cool. It's not cool. Like, I know that Bryce did a lot of terrible things, but I honestly don't think he should have died, because there was finally a redemption arc. You know, he finally saw the error of his ways, and he was trying to be a better person, you know. He was trying to help out. He even went to Chloe, who was his ex-girlfriend, who he also raped while she was sleeping, and she was pregnant with his child, and she got an abortion, you know. And there was a time when Zach and her got really close, you know. It's this whole thing. There are a lot of layers in season 3, you know, a lot of character dynamics all over the place, but it's still really nice. I think it was a pretty good, I think it was like, that part specifically was okay. The character dynamics were all over the place, but Bryce specifically was really cool, you know. I think that the dynamics there were very nice. There was a lot of character development, you know, and unfortunately they chose to kill him off, you know, so he didn't really appear in season 4 except for in flashbacks. But yeah, very confusing season, but I think that the Bryce redemption arc was worth it.
May I have your attention, please? We received some extremely sad news from the Evergreen County Sheriff. Bryce Walker was found and has been confirmed dead.
Okay, so now we get to season 4, the final season, you know. I binge watched all of the seasons. Like, I saw an announcement on Netflix that season 4 was going to be coming out, so I decided to watch all seasons, one after the other, in a way that I could sort of, like, I binged watch, but at the same time I spaced them out a bit, so I could actually sort of, like, as soon as I was done with season 3, season 4 would already be available to watch, so I wouldn't have to wait anymore, you know. So anyway, that's what I did. And okay, so season 4 was kind of like, it was a challenge to pick up the pieces that season 3 left, you know. They left a shattered mess on the floor, and season 4 tried to sort of give explanations to certain things that happened, you know. And it wasn't the cinematography wasn't so dark this time, so it didn't really give me a headache, you know. It was pretty okay. And I actually don't even remember too much. The most notable thing that happened, well, Justin is kind of like a fully fledged responsible person now, you know. He's taking school seriously, he's looking at colleges, he's dressing better, you know. He completely stopped using drugs. And as it goes on, he and Clay have their own little space within the property now. They have like their own little suite, you know, their bedrooms there. It's like kind of like their place, while at the same time living with their parents, you know. And Justin is probably, whereas the strongest character development was in season 3 with Bryce, I think that in season 4 Justin had the strongest one, you know. And it's like it's really sickening almost to a degree, you know, to see how far he came, you know, how much he grew, how much he evolved and matured, and how he left all the drugs behind for him to die the way he did, you know. Justin dies in season 4. And it's very, very sad. It's really tragic, but at the same time, it's not really surprising. AIDS. He dies of AIDS, you know, and it's really gut-wrenching to see him there, writhing on the hospital bed, you know, just feeling so weak and looking so frail, and his skin is all, I don't know, it's really hard to watch, you know. I gotta give it to the producers here, because they really did a good job, you know. Like the show wasn't afraid to get into dark territories, guys, you know. And this is probably the darkest yet, probably even darker than Hannah's suicide, because that wasn't really exactly explicitly shown at any point, you know. But like, it's real, because Hannah cut her wrist in the bathtub, and I'm glad it didn't show it. I didn't want to see that scene. But seeing Justin in bed in the hospital, slowly dying from AIDS, you know, slowly his body deteriorating, is probably the saddest thing I've seen in a TV show, you know. And season 4 had a few new characters coming in, you know, and all of the old ones were still there, you know. Some of them got better, others got worse, others were pretty much the same, you know. Clay Jensen is almost like a fully fledged sociopath at this point, you know. He's going crazy, he's doing things without remembering that he did them, you know. He's responsible for pretty much everything that goes on in this season. But yeah, you know, then we have Tyler, who was a few seasons ago. He was actually after he I think it was because he tattled on a few of the characters and they got a little angry. There is a character named Monty who is a closeted homosexual. He actually took a broom and shoved it up Alex's butthole. You know, it was a kind of a rape, as you would say, and it traumatized Tyler. There was even a scene where he went to the school with guns, you know, to try to shoot everyone, and I'm glad that was averted. Then he was sent away, you know, again, he tried to, you know, recover from what happened, you know. And Tyler, a lot of people like Tyler for the redemption arc, but I don't think that it really did him too much justice, you know. I think he was just kind of crazy the whole time through. Season 4, he was a bit more normal, he was okay, you know. And yeah, I just think that people go through much worse than he did and they come out okay. So, not saying that it wasn't bad, but you know. But then season 4 rolls around and everyone is kind of all over the place, you know. Everything sort of concludes in a satisfying way, you know, especially because it shows all of the characters graduating high school, except for, of course, the ones who, you know, Hannah, Bryce, you know, and Justin. Everyone else graduates, you know, and they start making plans to go to different places, their colleges and all of that, you know, and they sort of come together at one point. There's another character, I'm sorry, I forgot her name. I think it's the Asian chick, what's her name? She's a recurring character. I just pulled out my phone here to see. Okay, Courtney. I didn't even really talk about her a lot. She's kind of like the goody two-shoes of the group, you know, the girl who's always wanted to do everything right, but she's also a closeted lesbian, you know, and her parents are gay. She has 2 fathers, so that kind of explains it. She has a thing with Hannah once they make out. She's one of the reasons that Hannah took her own life. And I think that everyone the story arc concludes in a pretty satisfying way. I think Zach is the character who you most kind of despise at the end because he turns into a full-on douche. You know, like he used to be a douche, then we saw a sweeter side of him in season 2, then he started to become more of a douche, and then at the end it's really hard to understand what went through his head. But anyway, other than that, I think Alex is probably the most annoying character next to Jessica because he's always whining like a little fruit cup, you know, he's always cursing, you know, and he's pretty sure he's a closeted homosexual. The show deals with a lot of homosexuality. Everyone is in the closet at some point, you know, and but yeah. And in the end, I think season 4 did a really good job of concluding things, you know. There's a part where they all go to camp and they're trying to figure out a mystery, but then there's some trouble involved, you know, and everyone it's crazy. It's crazy, you know, there are a lot of hookups here and there, but towards the end, I think that it kind of closes out in a satisfying way, you know. It's been a while since I've seen this show, so my analysis isn't probably too detailed, but, oh, there it is.
I look at you, Clay, and I see a kid who's paying a very high price. And I don't yet know what for. I suspect it might be for the secrets you keep.
Please, let me out!
So, in a nutshell, 13 Reasons Why, I mean, to me, it's worth watching, you know. I think it's a good show, you know. You just have to go in prepared for the 3rd season because it's not going to make a lick of sense. It's pretty much like, just like if you watch seasons 1 and 2 and then skip to the 4th, you're not really going to miss much from the 3rd, although it's still good to watch it because of continuity and whatnot. And the show deals with a lot of heavy themes, guys, you know. We talk about there's rape, you know, and there's a lot of sexual themes, there's drugs, there's violence, you know, there's schizophrenia, there are mental health issues, you know, there's psychosis, there are so many different things, you know, and kind of like those dramas that we find in high school, you know. And I think that the themes kind of go hand in hand, you know, that there is very little comic relief, you know, because these are high school kids, so there are a few funny moments here and there, you know. So it deals with a lot of really dark topics, you know, and there's bureaucracy and politics in season 2, you know, the investigations into Hannah's suicide, and in general I think it was pretty cool. I think that the whole cast did really well, everyone acted well. I didn't really like too many of them, but I don't really know if I can say that because of the characters or the actors and actresses, you know, maybe that's really the issue here. But in general, in a nutshell, the show is really good and I definitely recommend it if you still haven't watched it. I don't even know if it's still on Netflix, but if it is, I totally recommend it, you know. It's a good series, but like I said at the beginning, if you struggle with mental health issues, you know, and depression, and you have thought of taking your own life, then maybe you shouldn't watch this TV show. And I'm gonna leave a link to a few links here in the description for a few places that you can reach out, you know, if you're suffering from this kind of thing. You know, there's the International Suicide Hotline, you know, there's some websites that you can talk to online with people, you know. Just know that you are definitely not alone. You know, if you've ever felt like Hannah Baker in your life, just know that you are not alone, and there are people who can and will help you, okay? And I think that's it for now. I'm gonna end the video here because it might be getting a bit too long, you know, it's just a review of a TV show. But yeah. So I hope you guys are staying safe in quarantine. I hope you guys are enjoying my videos. I've been recording a lot more frequently recently, you know. Lately, I've been recording much more and uploading much more frequently. So I hope you guys are enjoying, okay? Go watch 13 Reasons Why if you think you have the mental mindset for it, you know. So this is Chazzy signing out for now. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.